Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. My homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Hello. Today also we're going to talk about an important sutta in this program. So previously we discussed some of the suttas taught by the Blessed One, and these suttas are so important when we practice the Dhamma, when we practice the spa, because they give us advice that will help us to improve wholesome qualities and abandon unwholesome qualities. My name is Bante Vijay. I'm a Theravada Buddhist monk from the Sri Lankan Theravada monastic tradition, and I wish to share my knowledge with you. And I hope all these sutras that I teach will help you to practice this Dhamma. So the sutta I'm going to talk about today is Kakacūpama Sutta from Majjhima Nikaya. That's the 21st sutta in the Middle Length Discourses book. So I'm taking the translation by Bhikkhu Sujata, and this is Kakacūpama means the simile of the soul. So at the end of this sutta, you will see that Buddha uses the simile of the soul to advise and admonish the Sangha, and that helps us to abandon anger and cultivate loving kindness and develop wholesome qualities. So at that time, Buddha was living at Savatthi in Jeta's monastery, Jeta, another Pita's monastery. There was a monk named Paguna, and he was friends with the nuns, and that relationship was kind of beyond what was expected from a monk, because this Paguna, he was so closely mixed with the nuns, and when somebody criticizes the nuns, this monk Paguna becomes upset, and when somebody criticizes the monk Paguna, these nuns will become upset and become angry. So the bhikkhus at the time, they realized that this monk is not behaving well as it is expected from a Buddhist monk. So they complained, and Buddha summoned this monk and asked him, "Is it true that you're closely mixed with the nuns and you have such a relationship?" And he said yes. So what Buddha said was, he asked, Paguna, are you not a person who has gone forth from the lay life into homelessness? So the monks, they're not living lay lives. They are monastics, and they have gone into the homelessness. They don't have a home, and they practice celibacy. So unlike lay people, the monks have this certain practice, and they have to abandon sensual pleasures and the attitudes of lay people, because lay people live with sensual pleasures, but the ascetics or monks have abandoned the sensual pleasures, all the material things in the world, and gone into this noble life, noble practice. And Buddha asked him, "Are you not a person who abandoned the lay life and became a monk in this dispensation?" And he said yes. And Buddha said, if that's the case, if you have gone forth from the lay life into homelessness and become a monk, it is not appropriate for you to mix so closely with the nuns. And if anyone criticizes these nuns in your presence, you should give up any desires or thoughts of the lay life. That means usually in the lay life, people have strong relationships with people in the society, and they have loved ones. They're attached to their loved ones, and when somebody criticizes or hurt somebody's loved one, and that person will become upset because of their attachment. Such kinds of relationships should not be there in monk life, because monks are supposed to give up all attachments and live pure lives. They have to purify their mind, so that is expected from the ascetics or monks. So Buddha said, if you are a monk, you should give up any desires or thoughts of the lay life. So if you get such attachments, Buddha said you should train like this. If somebody criticizes the nuns in front of you, that means he's talking to Pagula. He said, my mind will be unaffected. I will blurt out no bad words. I will remain full of compassion with a heart of love and no secret hate. So monks should practice loving kindness, even though their loved ones are criticized by others. They are not supposed to cultivate anger towards those who criticize their loved ones, because monks are supposed to give up attachments. And Buddha went on with his advice. He said, even if someone strikes those nuns with fists, stones, rods, and swords in your presence, you should give up any desires or thoughts of the lay life. If that happens, you should train like this. My mind will be unaffected. I will blurt out no bad words. I will remain full of compassion with a heart of love and no secret hate. That is how you should train. So even if someone strikes those nuns with fists and stones, rods and swords, even in such an incident, Buddha's advice is the monks should train like this. Their minds should not be affected. They should not give up that pure heart. And Buddha said, if anyone criticizes you in front of you, in your presence, you should give up any desires or thoughts of the lay life, and you should train like your mind should not be affected, and you should not speak bad words and spread hatred. And Buddha said, even if someone strikes you with fists, stones, rods, or swords, you should give up any desires or thoughts of the lay life, because usually when people are when they live with sensual pleasures, they don't want to give up sensual pleasures. And if someone strikes them with their fists or with a stone or a rod or a sword, they will not like it, and they will cultivate anger and show anger and speak bad words and do things with anger. So they'll be obsessed with anger when they face such situations. But Buddha's advice is the monks who have gone forth have to develop these wholesome qualities, and their minds should not be affected, and they should not blurt out bad words, and they should remain full of compassion with a heart of love and no secret hate. So that's how the monks should train. That's the advice of the Buddha. So Buddha said, bhikkhus, I used to be satisfied with the mendicant. I used to be satisfied with the bhikkhus, because at the first part of the dispensation, that means when Buddha became enlightened, and during the first 20 years, uh, the monks were the cream of the crop. Uh, they were so into the path, and it was very easy to admonish the monks, and they quickly developed wholesome qualities. But when time went on, many types of people came into the dispensation, and problems occurred among the Sangha. So this is such an incident. So Paguna was not such a person who was easy to be admonished. So Buddha had to keep on instructing these type of monks for them to develop wholesome qualities and abandon unwholesome qualities. So Buddha said, uh, I used to be satisfied with the bhikkhus, with the mendicants. He said, when I lay down a precept, so he's talking about the precept where the uh, uh, monks are not supposed to eat after noon. So Buddha laid down a precept, and they uh, had only one meal a day. So when Buddha laid down these precepts, it was very easy for those monks to get rid of a second meal and live in a comfortable way and practice the Dhamma. So Buddha, it was very easy to admonish. And Buddha said, I didn't have to keep on instructing those bhikkhus. I just had to prompt their mindfulness. But when time went on, people like Paguna came into the dispensation, and there occurred problems among the Sangha. So Buddha said, at that time, it was very easy to advise the Sangha. He gives a similes. He says it's like uh, a chariot. There's a chariot, and those horses tied to this chariot are well trained, and a charioteer would get onto the chariot, and he can take the chariot to whatever place he wants and whenever he wishes, because those horses are well trained. So Buddha said in the same way, at that time the bhikkhus were well trained. They had natural qualities, wholesome qualities, and it was very easy to advise those monks. And they quickly learned to abandon unwholesome qualities and develop wholesome qualities. So Buddha said uh, he just had to prompt their mindfulness. When Buddha said you should give up what is unwholesome and devote yourselves to wholesome qualities, uh, and when you do this, you will achieve growth, improvement, and maturity in this teaching and training. When Buddha gives this advice, they quickly abandoned unwholesome qualities and developed wholesome qualities, and they matured in this training, in the Buddhist training. Uh, so it's like Buddha gives this simile. There's a grove of salt trees. So salt tree is a strong uh, tree. It's a big tree, and it gives flowers. So Buddha said there's a grove of salt trees, and it is being it is invaded by these types of weeds, which will grow on those trees and will take all the nutrients from those trees, and that will affect the growth of those trees, and they will die out eventually. So these types of weeds had invaded that grove of salt trees. So Buddha says, um, there comes a person who wants to help protect and nurture that grove of salt trees. So this person would cut down the crooked, uh, affected branches of those salt trees, and will remove all those weeds, uh, and Buddha says that person will clean up the interior of the grove, and will take away all those weeds, And in due course, that salt grove would grow, increase, and mature. So, in the same way, when Buddha gives his advice, when Buddha says you should give up unwholesome qualities and devote yourselves to skillful or wholesome qualities, that way you will achieve growth, improvement, and maturity in this dispensation. When Buddha gives his advice, they they easily abandoned unwholesome qualities and developed wholesome qualities, and they would grow in this dispensation. So uh, so this is actually what we have to do in this dispensation of the Buddha. And Buddha uh, advises the monks that they should follow this path and abandon unwholesome qualities and develop wholesome qualities. He says that when you do that, in due course, you will improve and mature in this training, and they will be able to develop peaceful and calm minds and develop wisdom and escape from suffering. So, Buddha gives an example here, kind of simile. He said that there was a woman named Vedeka in Savatthi, and she had a good reputation. All the people around her knew her as sweet, even-tempered, and calm. So it appeared that she didn't have anger. She was not angry, and she was sweet, even-tempered, and calm. And she had a maid named Kali, and that girl, she was well organized in her work, and she did all the work in the house. So Kali thought that the maid thought, my mistress has a good reputation as being sweet, even-tempered, and calm. But does she actually have anger in her and just not show it? That means, does she have anger in her for real, but she's not showing it for some reason? Is that the case, or does she have no anger at all? Is that the real situation? So, and she thought, is it because my work is well organized? So I'm doing all the work in the house, and she doesn't have any reason to get upset because everything is done. Whatever she wants, she gets because of the maid. So she thought, is it because my work? I do all the work here, so she doesn't have any reason to get upset. Is that the case? So she thought I should test my mistress. So one day she didn't wake up early. She got up late. And Vedika, that woman, Vedika, came to her and asked, Oi, girl, Kali, what's wrong? Why did you wake up late? Uh, so she said, uh, you're getting up in the day, what's up with you? And Kali said, nothing, madam. And Vedika got upset and she said, oh, so nothing's up, you know what I mean? And you get up late in the day. And she became angry and upset, and she scowled. So Kali understood that, okay, she has anger, but she's not showing it. Uh, it's all because of my work. I do all the work here without being lazy, so that's why she's not upset all the time. She pretends to be sweet and even tempered. It's all because of my work. So she wanted to test further, and she got up late in the next day as well. And that day, uh, Vedika got upset and she blurted out angry words. So she got even more upset and angry. And Kali wanted to test further, and she got up late in the next day as well. And the third day, Vedika, she became very angry and upset, and she grabbed a rolling pin and hit Kali on the head, and she got wounded. And with blood pouring from her head, she came out of the house and went to all the neighbors and said, see, ladies, what this sweet one did. See what the even-tempered one did. See what the calm one did. How on earth can she grab a rolling pin and hit me on my head because I was doing all the work in the house? She just hit me on my head just for being late, just for getting up late. So after that incident, Vedehika got this bad reputation. She was known by the others as this housewife, Vedehika, is fierce, she is ill-tempered, and she's not calm at all. So she got this bad reputation. So Buddha says, in the same way, the monks, a monk may be the sweetest of the sweet, the most even-tempered of the even-tempered, the calmest of the calm, so long as they don't encounter any disagreeable criticism. So as long as no one criticizes that monk, that monk is the sweetest of the sweet and most even-tempered of the even-tempered and calmest of the calm. As long as they don't encounter disagreeable criticisms. But when they encounter disagreeable criticisms, then you will know whether they are really sweet, even-tempered, and calm. So Buddha says, I don't say that a bhikkhu is easy to admonish if they make themselves easy to admonish only for the sake of robes, alms, food, lodging, and medicine. So these are the material things that bhikkhus get, monks get, the four requisites. So if they behave as obedient just because they get all these material things, Buddha says, I wouldn't call them obedient. I wouldn't call them easy to admonish because they appear to be easy to admonish and appear to be calm and obedient as long as they get all the material things. They get these supplies. But when they encounter incidents when they do not get what they want, then they will not be obedient and they will be stubborn and it won't be easy to admonish them and advise them. So Buddha says, when a mendicant or when a bhikkhu is easy to admonish purely because they honor, respect, revere, worship, and venerate the teaching, the Dhamma, then Buddha said, I would say that they are easy to admonish. They are very modest and they are obedient. These monks are obedient. Buddha will call them, Buddha will say that they are easy to admonish and obedient when they respect, revere, worship, and venerate the teaching, and they will be obedient and easy to admonish purely because they honor the Dhamma, they respect the Dhamma, they revere the Dhamma. So it is not based on material things. Their obedience is not based on these material things. So that way Buddha can really call them obedient and easy to admonish. So Buddha says, bhikkhus, you should train yourselves. We will be easy to admonish purely because we honor, respect, revere, worship, and venerate the teaching, the Dhamma. That is how you should train. So this is the advice of the Buddha. So he's trying to train the monks and help them escape from suffering, escape from these unwholesome states. So this is important. So Buddha says, there are 5 ways which others might criticize you. Okay, there are these 5 ways. So the criticisms may be timely or untimely. They might be true or false. They might be gentle or harsh. They might be beneficial or harmful. Or they might be from a heart of love or from secret hate. So these are the 5 ways of others criticizing criticizing us. So the speech, those words may be timely or untimely, true or false, gentle or harsh, beneficial or harmful. And those words can be from a heart of love or from secret hate. So these are the 5 ways uh, uh, in which others might criticize us. So Buddha says, when others criticize you, they may do this in any of these ways. So if that happens, if others criticize you in any of the ways, Buddha says you should train like this. Our minds will remain unaffected no matter what we hear. So actually, there might be criticisms that might help us because somebody might criticize our bad behavior. So that criticism helps us to understand that we have this certain type of bad behavior which has to be abandoned, and that will prompt our mindfulness. And actually, that will be a good advice for us. So even though that's a criticism, that might help us, whether it comes from any of these ways, any of these 5 ways. So so Buddha said, whatever criticism you get, your minds should remain unaffected. You should not blurt out bad words. They should remain full of compassion with a heart of love and no secret hate. And Buddha said you should spread loving kindness to the person who criticizes you. And having them as the basis, you should meditate spreading loving kindness to everyone in the world. Abundant, expansive, limitless, free of enmity and ill will. This is how you should train. So Buddha says, if you train like that and have a mind which will not be affected because of criticisms of others, so it's very hard to face criticisms for most of the people. Um, when somebody criticizes you, you will easily get. Normal people will easily get upset. But if somebody trains like this, according to the advice of the Buddha, they will have a peaceful life like this. Buddha explains that with similes. So Buddha says, imagine there's a person coming along carrying a spade and a basket, and that person says, I shall make this great earth upside down. I will turn this earth upside down with this spade and basket. But that is not possible because this earth is huge. You cannot easily turn it upside down, uh, make it disappear or do whatever, something like that, just with a spade and a basket. You cannot do that. So, just like that, if you have such a mind, others will not be able to turn you upside down and arouse anger in you. And there's another simile that Buddha gives. Uh, there's a person coming along with dye or paint in different colors, and that person says, "I shall draw pictures on the sky," making pictures appear in the air or in the sky. So Buddha says that is not possible. He's just having paint and a brush and trying to draw pictures on the sky. That is not possible because uh, the air is not, it's not a substance uh, that will capture the paint, right? So just like that, if somebody has a mind like the sky, no matter what types of criticisms that they get, those will not get attached in the mind. Just like paint will not be attached to the sky, right? You cannot draw pictures in the sky. So this, if somebody is able to practice the Dhamma and develop a mind like that, uh, their minds will be like the sky, and nobody will be able to make pictures on that sky with bad words or criticisms, and they will not become upset. So there is a way of improving tolerance to control anger. So the next simile the Buddha gives is, somebody comes along carrying a blazing grass torch, and that person says, I shall burn and scorch the river Ganges with this blazing grass torch. So even though the grass torch is blazing with fire, you cannot boil or burn the river Ganges, because river Ganges is huge. So just like that, if you practice the Dhamma like that, like according to the advice of the Buddha, nobody will be able to make your mind boil with criticisms. And this is a nice simile that Buddha gives. So there's a bag made of cat skin. So I think at the time of the Buddha they made bags with cat skin. So that cat skin is very soft, and that is well rubbed and silky, and it is rid of rustling and crackling. I mean, you cannot get the crackling sound out of it because it's very soft. Cat skin is very soft. So there's a person coming along carrying a stick or a stone, and that person says, I shall make this soft cat skin bag rustle and crackle with this stick or stone. So he's trying to get that crackling noise out of that bag with that stick or stone. That is not possible. So Buddha says, if you practice the Dhamma according to Buddha's advice, and uh, nobody will be able to criticize you and make you speak bad words, to get bad words out of you by making you upset or making you angry. Because usually people get upset easily, and they tend to speak bad words when they face criticisms. They're not able to endure criticisms of others. They're not able to tolerate that. I mean, that's the way of normal people. So we are normal people, but this is the path that we have to follow. Buddha points out the path and the end goal that his disciples should focus and should practice the Dhamma to achieve that goal. So Buddha says, and he gives this advice, the simile of the soul. So that's the name of the sutta, Kakacūpama Sutta. So Kakaca means soul. So Buddha says, even if low-down bandits were to sever you limb from limb with a soul, anyone who had a malevolent thought on that account would not be following my instructions. So Buddha's instruction is to even if you face such a situation where you're caught up by these bandits or torturers, they will sever you or cut your limbs with a saw. Even when you face such a situation, if you cultivate anger or speak bad words, you're not following the Buddha's advice, Buddha's instructions. So his instructions pointed or directed towards complete purification of the mind. That's how profound the teachings of the Buddha are. So Buddha says, even in that incident, you should train like this. Our minds will remain unaffected. We will blurt out no bad words. We will remain full of compassion with a heart of love and no secret hate. We will meditate spreading a heart of love to that person, the person who's torturing you, trying to sever you limb from limb, and torture you. You should spread loving kindness to that person. And with them as a basis, you should meditate spreading loving kindness to everyone in the world, abundant, expansive, limitless, free of enmity and ill will. So this is the advice of the Buddha. This is how you should train. So yeah, as disciples of the Buddha, we should listen to the teachings of the Buddha. It's advice. So little by little, you'll be able to improve tolerance and endurance to remain unaffected by these criticisms in the world. When we face these criticisms in the world, So Buddha says, so I found this picture. So 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 if this person can spread loving kindness to these two torturers, then he's actually practicing the word of the Buddha. Yes, actually that person will be an arhat if they can do that. So that's the advice of the Buddha. That's where the teaching directs you uh, to the complete purification of the mind. So we haven't get there yet. So it's kind of nearly impossible when we compare our lives with uh, the world and the teachings of the Buddha, what he expected from his disciples. It's not easy, but this is the path that the Buddha shows us. And if somebody is able to go in that path and abandon uh, hatred and anger completely, they will escape from suffering. So Buddha said, if you frequently reflect on this advice, the simile of the soul, uh, he asks, do you see any criticism, large or small, that you could not endure? Uh, so if you can handle such an incident, if you can spread metta to these torturers, will you be affected uh, by the criticisms of others? No. Buddha says, if you frequently reflect on this advice of the Buddha, the simile of the soul, uh, there will be no criticism in the world, large or small, that will not be able to endure. So Buddha says, bhikkhus, you should frequently reflect on this advice, the simile of the soul, and this will be for your lasting welfare and happiness. So if somebody can reflect on this advice of the Buddha and abandon hate, tolerance, and endurance to face criticisms of others, uh, which comes to you in these 5 ways. So these 5 ways are, so these are the 5 ways in which others might criticize you. Their speech may be timely or untimely, true or false, gentle or harsh, beneficial or harmful, uh, from a heart of love or from secret hate. So when we get these five uh, types of criticisms in these 5 ways, we should be able to endure and tolerate and abandon anger. So Buddha uttered this sutta, this teaching, and the monks were satisfied and they were happy with the Buddha's advice. So, dear friends, I think this is a good sutta for all of us uh, to abandon anger and have a pure mind. So I hope this you found this useful. The next time also we'll discuss a new sutta which might help you. So let us find out. We, we collected merit today by reflecting an advice of the Buddha, learning this sutta, uh, and let us share all the merit we accumulated with all the beings in the world. May all the beings be well and happy. May all of them be able to escape from suffering. And I wish you all the best and all the success. And may you be well and happy. May you be able to escape from suffering as soon as possible. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.